When you have a small shop, you get into a situation where you cannot afford the space to have things in a permanent location that never gets moved around. So you do things like storing stuff on a shelf, and grinders and sharpeners and saws get stored on a shelf, but that only works well for bench size stuff and things that are legitimate to lift. When you start getting heavier floor models or heavy tools, then you look for ways to move it around when you need to. And I have basically done that for all but one tool. Disc sander, which was given to me by a friend, weighs a frickin' ton. And it's on wheels, so I can move it around if I need to. Lathe, which also weighs a lot. It's got a base, and just recently I added casters, locking casters to it, so I can move it around when I need to. That worked out really well. Workbench, wheels, planer and drum sander, again on wheels. I can move this around very nicely. Bandsaw has wheels, and I can move it around, and I do move it around. Table saw, also purchased with the caster set. It doesn't get moved around nearly as often, but it does get moved around once in a while. My router table is on casters. You can't really see it here, but it needs to be if I'm going to store it underneath a table saw like this. Vacuum system is on casters. Drill press does not have casters. And that is what I'm going to work on today. I'm going to make a caster set for my drill press. So, join me in this adventure and we'll see how this works out. I went to the store and I bought some casters. They're all swivel casters, and 2 of them are locking. That way, once it gets to its place, then they lock in place and it won't move around. I also bought some bolts with nuts, some washers, and I have some wood here. This is all pine. And this is what's going to make up the caster's drill press. I still have to do some designing, but I'm looking forward to this. All right, here comes the fun part. Well, that worked. My wife and I used to watch baseball, and we used to watch the local team. And one of the major gripes I always had with the team was they played to the opponent. So if they played an opponent that they thought was going to be difficult, then they busted it and they worked hard and they did an awesome job. But if they played to an opponent that they thought was simple, then they barely won. And it's just like, what's the deal here? And they were playing to the opponent. Well, I kind of do the same thing myself with my woodworking. These casters, they came out. They work. But quite honestly, I don't think they're going to stay on here for very long because I'm not very happy with them at all. They kind of rock. I don't like that. So, I mean, when I'm working drill press, it's going to be all right. It's just that it's a little less stable than I'd want it to be. So I will probably get some different casters that will be more solid, and we'll do this again at some point. But for now, I really am unhappy with this. I thought I was going to be able to live with it, but the fact that this moves so much and it's so loose, I don't like it. I was thinking, what can I do to make this better? And I found some really nice heavy duty casters. These are really solid. I mean, like super solid built casters. They roll nicely, and the shame is that I was okay with getting a different set, but I could only get either this with locking and a top plate, which I'd rather have the screw-on, honestly, or the screw-on was also just like what we've already done. So I decided on these. And these are dual locking. So we got this lock here, which keeps the top plate from turning. And then we got this lock here, which keeps the wheels from turning. This time, instead of just screwing them in, I went ahead and bought carriage bolts to bolt them in. Do it right. I like these a lot, and they'll work perfectly. However, oh boy, if I put them here, even if I were to manage to make that work right there, like that, which is, it could work, they're too big for the space allotted. This is going to have to go out further. So shucky darns. Alright, I decided what wood to use. The top plate, which I like to have wood on top of the foot so that a drill bit falls through, it lands on wood instead of on steel. I use this piece of plywood. And for holding the wheels, I'm going to use this piece of construction grade lumber. This was a, you can see the markings for it was construction at one point. I think I got this out of my attic years ago. Only thing I hate is that this is nice and old. It's got pretty grain to it. Well, I spent the night thinking about this piece of wood right here. It is not that phenomenally great of a piece of wood. There's a big crack all the way up to here, and there's a crack around here too, and it's got some issues. However, this piece of pine or fir or whatever it has got to be a minimum of 60 years old. This was in my attic. My house was built in 1954. So, and they've been there for a while. As far as pine's concerned, this is pretty hard. And I know one thing about old growth pine and old construction lumber is that the wood becomes beautiful by seasoning that long. So I've decided I'm going to set this aside and use this for a beauty project, like a box or something like that. I got another piece just like this. And I went to the Orange Box store and I got this 8-foot piece of construction lumber. It's a 2x6, and I think this will do the job much better, and then I don't have to do anything with that plywood or that piece of wood, and I'm just going to use this. I have milled these 3 pieces of wood down, so now they are all the same width and sanded to the same thickness. And what I want to do, and the reason why I took this base off of the bandsaw, is I want to test how far away the caster has to be to still work. So, as a matter of fact, that looks like perfect right there. So what I will do is I'll mark the length, cut it down to length on the other side, because you know this side's perfect, that side's long. I will start working on making the circle in the center. Just because I'm doing a better job at making this project does not mean that it's going to be fine woodworking. I'm going to use pocket holes because that's just going to be easiest, and I think it'll be pretty stable. To make sure I cut through straight and flat, I have this old drill press, hand drilled drill press that I've had for, oh gosh, for just about forever, really. I don't use it that much anymore. I used it to drill the holes for my workbench. It worked out perfect for that. So this is my very first drill that I owned in my shop, hooked up to this, and I've set it up, and it's flat, it's level. I say it's flat and level, but it's plumb. Yep. And this way. Yep. So, and then I added this piece of plywood underneath, just so that I don't drill through to the bench. And the idea is I'm going to line it up with the hole in the center of the Forstner bit, and then drill it out. Luckily, this drill has a lock. Beauteous. Now, 15 more holes to do. All right, all the bones are done. I could just install it on there right now and have a drill press again. However, why not make it look nice? Until I pull out the router table, I am going to do everything off camera because there's nothing special there. Plus, I'm gonna put away my tools. It's starting to look a little messy in here. So, believe it or not, I am not a neat freak, but you have to be when you have a small wood shop, because every little space is important. So. That's a lot better than the first attempt. The drill press still rocks, but that's not because of the stand anymore. It's now because the drill press is tall and it's got only one little pipe there. So I'm going to call this project completed, and I'm pleased with it. Good. Finally, after every woodworking project, you should always count your fingers. You end with 10. Good job.
That looks really good, and it's functional too. A win-win.